토머스 매시는 MIT를 졸업한 미국 켄터키주의 정치인입니다. 미국 정치인들 중에 가장 양심 있고 국민들을 위하는 정치인은 이 사람입니다. 어제 방송에서도 알려드렸지만 지금 미국은 물론 대한민국도 야채를 이용한 백신 개발에 많은 투자를 하고 있습니다.
Future vaccines could look more like eating a salad than getting a shot in the arm. That's a great way to switch things out, I'd like.
That's also a direct quote from researchers at the University of California, Riverside, because they are working to find out if they can grow protection against viruses like COVID to create edible forms of the shot.
자, 토머스 매시 의원, 그가 먹는 백신에 대해 뭐라고 하는지 들어보시겠습니다.
Does the term transgenic edible vaccine sound far-fetched? Well, it's not. We're funding it. In fact, scientists from the University of California, Riverside, funded with your taxpayer dollars, have been studying whether they can turn edible plants, such as lettuce and spinach, into mRNA vaccine factories, thereby creating a transgenic edible vaccine. One associate professor at UCR explained that ideally a single plant would produce enough mRNA to vaccinate a single person. We are testing this approach with spinach and lettuce and have long-term goals of people growing it in their own gardens. Farmers could also eventually grow entire fields of it. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think the American people should be funding this. And I think, and I would hope, that we've learned something from the COVID experience with SARS-CoV-2, that some of our science projects aren't the best ideas. Well, my colleague on the other side of the aisle talks about keeping prices low. I think there's more to it than that for the American people. And he also speaks as if these vaccines, these transgenic edible plant vaccines, are only used for livestock. Well, in fact, they have been used for livestock. I'll get to that in a second. But they're also being used for people. That is the intended outcome of many of these programs that we are funding with money from the USDA. What could possibly go wrong with this research? Well, we found out a few years ago when a biotech company was experimenting, growing in corn a vaccine to keep pigs from getting diarrhea. What happened? Well, the next year where the corn was grown, the prior year, the corn came up. And it got commingled with soybeans that were being grown there. It contaminated 500 bushels of soybeans, which were then commingled with 500,000 bushels of soybeans. And those all had to be recalled and destroyed. Luckily, they caught it. Do we want humans eating vaccines that were grown in corn meant to stop pigs from getting diarrhea? I don't think we want that to happen. Yet that almost happened, and it could happen. There's another case where the pollen cross-contaminated another crop of corn, and 155 acres of corn had to be burned. What are the cases where we're not discovering this? I think it's dangerous to play God with our food. And if we start contaminating the DNA of our food with DNA from other animals or viruses, the pollen could spread, and we don't know what could happen. That sometimes things escape, sometimes things don't go as you plan. And so that's why I think it's a bad idea to fund transgenic edible plant vaccine research.
현재 대한민국 포항에서도 야채를 이용한 개발이 한창 진행 중에 있습니다.
식물로 백신을 생산하는 국내 최초의 그린 백신 실증 지원센터가 포항에 설립돼 운영에 들어갑니다.
믿기지 않겠지만 이는 사실이며 이것을 개발 중인 회사들은 가축용이라고 주장을 하고 있습니다. 하지만 토머스 매시 의원의 말처럼 가축용으로 시작해서 인간용으로 사용되는 것은 정말 시간 문제에 불과합니다.
우리 사회를 지켜줄 10대 미래 유망 기술로 전 세계가 주목하고 있는 식물 백신. 전 세계가 주목하고 있는 식물 백신. 항원으로 작용할 수 있는 단백질만 만들 수 있는 유전자를 식물에 넣어 식물이 만들도록 하는 원리로 기존의 대장균이나 동물 세포를 활용하는 것보다 빠르고 안전하게 백신 생산이 가능합니다. 코로나19 백신도 개발 중인데 동물 실험에서 상당히 좋은 결과를 얻었습니다.
이 시설이 좀 빨리 완공이 되면 저희 바이오에서 개발하는 코로나 백신을 여기에서 실증처럼 생산을 해서 임상 1상 정도는 정말 여기서 생산을 해보고 싶은 그런 욕심이 있고요. 정말 여기서 생산을 해보고 싶은 그런 욕심이 있고요.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다.